Good morning. Welcome to our Assemblywoman, Marianne Buttershone, our New York transportation team, our traffic safety, and law enforcement officials. As we look to raise awareness of the law passed to protect first responders in every state, including Washington, D.C., the law is simple. When you see red, yellow, or blue lights flashing at the roadside, slow down and move over to the next adjacent lane if it's safe to do so. I'd like to open up with the words of Ken Young. He was one of our AAA tow truck drivers who was injured at the roadside. Ken says, and I will quote it, "Treat everybody like it was your family, so no one gets hurt. Keep your eyes open. If you don't move over, you could hurt someone. Put the cell phone down. A text can wait. It's simple. Have some compassion. We put our lives on the line every day to help other people. This is our office. We don't have four walls and we don't have a roof over our head." I think Ken sums up the sentiments of many who work at the roadside and the spirit of the slow down, move over law. With us today are 7 panelists to share their views and thoughts on the slow down, move over movement. Our first panelist is Assemblywoman Marianne Buttershone. She is our New York State Assembly. Before winning election to the Assembly's 119th District, Dr. Marianne was the Dean of Public Service and Emergency Preparedness at Mohawk Valley Community College. Her 2018 campaign for the Assembly was her first attempt at elected office. Marianne is married to Don, a retired public school psychologist. They have 3 grown children and 1 granddaughter. For over 30 years, Don and Marianne have operated the Buttershone Christmas Tree Farm in the town of Marcy in Oneida County. Marianne is a career-long educator and a lifelong learner. Her priorities are protecting the people of the Mohawk Valley, educating the children of the Mohawk Valley, and bringing good jobs to the Mohawk Valley. Welcome, Assemblywoman.
Thank you very much for this opportunity to be here with you, as well with the distinguished panelists that I share the screen with this morning. Thank you for all you do. I appreciate the welcome, and I can also add that I spent a little over 30 years working in the local court system. So when we talk about the importance, part-time, so I know you just, but I can say, as well as my husband was a town justice for over 30 years. So more importantly is our topic today, and in regards to the importance that we see of so many individuals just taking that extra minute or 2 or maybe 5 as they're driving to their destination, and see the importance of protecting those individuals that go above and beyond to protect us every day. So this is basic legislation that is so important that I'm honored to co-sponsor, because primarily what it does is just reminds individuals the way that we clearly see this happening is you will be penalized and you will be fined. And it's sad to say that we have to go to that point, that when we're talking about individuals, whether it's law enforcement or, as you brought up, it could be someone coming to aid an individual, it's our fire service, it's our EMS, and clearly they're there to assist someone. And the point that resonates is when you talk about, could they be assisting one of your family members, a dear friend of yours, or another loved one? And that's what they're doing, and they're putting their life on the line as individuals are driving by at high rates of speed to make sure that these individuals are safe. And primarily for us to say we're going to be a couple minutes late to wherever we're heading is not a big sacrifice for any one of us to take. It's just a matter of saying, slow down. You see the flashing lights, and be sure to do everything possible so that they can continue with their work and don't have to be concerned that someone is going to possibly injure them or injure those that they're there to assist. So I can't I guess at one point as a legislator, it's somewhat disturbing that we have to have legislation and we have to go through the process of finding individuals to remind them of such a basic caring environment that our law enforcement, our fire service, and all first responders are there to do, is to provide the health and safety of someone. So whether we have to continue with the thought process that you brought up, Patty, in regards to remembering that that could be one of your loved ones, but to just remind us that I will continue to push this legislation, support it. I think that it's something that is so important. You know that we recently passed the legislation that my colleague Magnarelli carried, and the governor signed it on September 6th, that talks about specifically move over when we see the workforce, or excuse me, the work zones. So, I mean, that was a little bit more specific, but the Gunther bill takes a look at, again, the importance of those individuals that are there to serve and protect us. So again, to the panelists that are here this morning, I thank you for all you do. I thank AAA for the opportunity to speak this morning and to remind everyone of how important this is. And as we continue through the next few months of weather that gets challenging, just slow down. It's real simple. You're going to get there. I think the sheriff knows me quite well that I'm usually late, and that's because I'm slowing down, Sheriff. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And you brought up great points. And I'm so glad that you did mention about the work zones. There's so many work zones right currently in Utica that, you know, I look out this window right now and that's all I see is workers putting up the hospital and so on and so forth. So thank you very much. You had very valid points and we appreciate it. Our next panelist is Robert Michel. He's the sheriff of Oneida County. He is a lifelong Oneida County resident with a 32-year career in law enforcement. He was elected to the position of Oneida County Sheriff in 2011, becoming the 61st sheriff of Oneida County. In his off time, the sheriff raises beef cattle on his family farm in Holland Patton. And he has been wonderful for AAA. He has supported us in so many of our outreach programs that I can't thank him enough. Welcome, Sheriff.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. It's truly an honor to again serve with this group of panelists. You know, when we talk about AAA, you know, it's just you're a group of dedicated people who your mission is to help people in so many different ways. As you mentioned, we have a long-standing history here at the Sheriff's Office working with AAA, and one of the things I look forward to when school opens is to get that picture with the kids every year to encourage people to slow down with the buses out on the road. We've had to adapt the past couple of years, as you know, with COVID, but hopefully next year we'll be back to doing it the way that all of us enjoyed it. But certainly, first and foremost, I would like to say thank you to Assemblywoman Buttonshaw. She and all of our other local state, you know, our state legislators here locally in our region, they get it when it comes to the needs of first responders, whether it be police, fire, EMS, you know, and needs as far as you know, needs for the way we do our job and new laws to help protect us and giving us support. They've always been there for us. And certainly I want to say thank you to her for that. You know, we continuously lobby a lot of her colleagues in different parts of the state who don't think the same way that our people here do, and we try to change their minds. But, you know, this particular topic we're talking about today is critical. You know, whether it be a police officer on a traffic stop, someone working a construction zone, a tow truck operator on the side of the road. These are people helping people, and it's just unfortunate that, you know, we have others who, you know, aren't paying attention. They're distracted while they're driving, and we've seen way too many across this country, way too many times when someone's life is lost on the side of the road as they were just trying to help someone in need. And that's why it's critical for law enforcement. I mean, we have two functions here. You know, and I say it all the time, whether we're talking about this or at many other topics. I mean, these are problems that we can't arrest our way out of. So just us issuing tickets on things like this is not enough. I mean, when these laws are passed, certainly one of our functions is to enforce the law, but we also have an obligation as law enforcement members to educate the public about these laws. So we work very hard in those categories with our partners here in the law enforcement community. Whether it be the state police, the Utica police, the Rome police, or the other towns and village police departments throughout Oneida County. And I know it's like that all across the state. As a past president of the New York State Sheriff's Association, this is a topic that my fellow sheriffs and I talk about, definitely on a regular basis. What can we do to better educate the public about, laws just like this? And we talk about this specific one often because there's been so many tragic results and so many close calls. We hear these things all the time. So, thank you to AAA for helping us with that educational message. Luckily, all of us are not fans of social media, but we use it to our advantage with things like this. I mean, through we have our own app here at the sheriff's office, and then through the other social media outlets and the press. Our local press has been very good to deal with us, when we need to get these safety messages out. So again, we need to continue to work together. We got a great team here assembled. And like I said, I want to say thank you first and foremost to all those folks out on the roadways, on the front lines. Like I said, whether it be law enforcement, fire, tow truck operators, construction workers. This summer we had the pleasure with working side by side with New York State DOT on several details with their Operation Hard Hat, where we actually had members of the sheriff's office on construction sites, basically wearing similar outfits to the construction people, but obviously whether it be holding handheld radar devices or watching for other violations. I mean, we've definitely issued a decent amount of summonses, did some education on the roadside with folks. And again, it's things like this that get the message out. I mean, the last thing we want to do is ruin someone's day with giving them a ticket and having points go on their license and having their insurance go up. But at the end of the day, that's one of the ways that we get this message out there. So again, with education, along with enforcement, and along with some aggressive approaches, and we need the laws to be able to do that. We can continue to do everything we can to keep the people on the roadway safe. So thank you again for having me on the panel today, and I look forward to hear from the rest of the speakers. And if there's any questions out there at the appropriate time, I'd be more than happy to answer them. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff. Greatly appreciate your participation. Brought up great points. Our next speaker today is going to be Scott Ingersoll. He's the Fire Chief of Utica Fire Department. Scott was appointed to the Utica Fire Department in September of 2000, has served as a firefighter, paramedic, company, and shift commander before being promoted to Fire Chief in June of 2019. Born and raised in Utica, New York. Welcome, Fire Chief.
Hi, good morning, everyone. How's everyone doing? Thanks for having me.
We're glad you're here. Unfortunately, he's having a little trouble, so he has called in on his phone, but we're excited that you're participating and look forward to what you have to say.
All right. So I just did a little presentation here. We can have next slide, please. And I just want to go over a little bit about the Utica Fire Department. We provide emergency response, obviously, to the city of Utica, cover roughly 17 square miles. In 2020, we responded over 14,000 calls for assistance. There's 124 career firefighters and 6 fire stations located throughout the city. Next slide, please. Obviously, firefighter and civilian safety is the top priority. When the fire department responds to calls, we use a tiered response system, which we have found nationally. We're following national trends where that decreases the risk of vehicle accidents, both involving our apparatus and involving other vehicles. Tiered response system utilizes call type to determine if apparatus responds to an emergency or non-emergency mode. So what that means is not every call that we respond to has the need for lights and sirens. Next slide, please. Obviously, when our firefighters respond, they're always wearing seat belts. They follow vehicle and traffic laws. They use lights and siren if emergency mode is indicated. Required to conduct at least 8 hours of driver training per year. It's just a little bit about the fire department. Next slide, please. We respond to a variety of calls, including structure fires, vehicle accidents, medical emergencies, alarm activations, rescues, whether those rescues are in elevated, water, confined spaces, etc. Next slide. Okay, in 2020, we responded to over 500 motor vehicle accidents. 171 of those vehicle accidents reported personal injury to the occupants. Accidents occurred in a variety of locations, including the roadways, parking lots, New York State Thruway, driveways. We're never surprised when we're dispatched to a vehicle accident as to where the location is, whether it's a parking lot or it's just somebody pulling into their driveway and they accidentally hit their house. We have it all. Next slide. So some of the fire department responsibilities at vehicle accidents include patient care, obviously, extrication from the vehicle. We stabilize the vehicle, whether we disconnect the battery, clean up fluid spills, clean up accident debris. We provide scene safety. Next slide. So one of the ways we provide scene safety, and one of the reasons why I was more than happy to speak with AAA about this today, is that we have a lot of near misses, or we have a lot of times that emergency personnel, while operating at an accident scene, get either struck by a vehicle or the apparatus gets struck by a vehicle. So I just put up a picture here to just illustrate how we try to protect the accident scenes when we're operating there. And we tend to try to put a fire truck at an angle to block that accident scene. So this way, if a inattentive driver is coming down, or maybe somebody that's not paying attention to what they should be doing and operating their vehicle, if they were to swerve over, come close to the accident scene, they hit the fire truck with respond or people that were already involved in the accident. So we try to always park like that in a certain way to increase our responder safety, increase the safety of the civilians that have been hurt. Next. Just some terminology in here, and we try to park upstream of the vehicle accident. So we like to pull the fire apparatus past the accident. Again, that fire apparatus essentially acts as a blocking device, albeit a very expensive blocking device. And unfortunately, throughout the last several years, we've had apparatus struck vehicles while operating at accident scenes. And this is something that we really try to avoid: proper positioning, making sure our emergency lights are activated. We work in conjunction with the police department to make sure that we're establishing that safe zone and making sure that we're protecting the area where people are parked. This is just another example of how we block lanes. Next slide, please. Again, not all of our accidents occur on 2-lane roads. Sometimes they're multi-lane highways, and we try to position appropriately depending on the scenario that we're getting. Next slide. This is just a visual example of how we should be positioning our fire apparatus. And next slide. I just want to reiterate: highways, roadways are extremely important to our emergency responders. Distracted driving is a major cause. Slow down, move over is one thing all motorists can do to increase our safety. It's fairly commonplace for us to be operating in a scene, and people will have their cell phones out trying to record what's going on. You're not paying attention or being attentive to the roadway and understanding that they should be slowing down, moving over, and giving us some space to work. It's extremely concerning when we're operating, whether it's on the thruway or a highway or even a residential street, when you're standing still and cars are going past you. Next slide, please. I just wanted to finish this with: protect yourself, protect your family, protect our first responders. Please put down your phone. Don't call, text, take photos, live stream when you're driving. Keep your eye on the road, hand on the wheel, mind the traffic. Move over, slow down for stopped emergency vehicles, work vehicles, stopped tow trucks, things of that nature. And reemphasize the follow-up directions of traffic. personnel. That concludes my quick presentation.
Thank you very much. That last slide, I pretty much think says it all, and appreciate it. And I did learn something, just the staging of how you do place your fire trucks at any one of the scenes. So that's good to know. Our next speaker is Trooper Eric Heath. He's Traffic Safety Officer, Troop D, New York State Police. Trooper Heath is a 15-year member of the New York State Police and serves as the Traffic Safety Officer for Troop D in Oneida, New York. He is a state police instructor for the Emergency Vehicle Operator course, breath test operator course, and standardized field sobriety test course, as well as a child passenger seat technician. Trooper Heath helps teach the traffic incident management system responder course and presents frequent to drivers education classes throughout Troop D area. You really cover a lot here with all of your training. So
Well,
I'm here to welcome you, Trooper Heath. Thank you for being here.
Certainly, and I'm very pleased to be here today to present to everyone. Certainly, I appreciate the opportunity to speak with all of these other panelists. We've got some great information that's already been presented. Hopefully, I can reinforce that. Next slide, please. The Move Over Law was designed to help protect people working roadside. Unfortunately, the roadways are not as safe as they could be. We can always do a better job reducing the number of injury and fatal collisions across New York State. This legislation, the Move Over Law, was designed to help our responders that have already responded to an incident or have been involved in something roadside and are actively working in that space. Next slide, please. Unfortunately, we've got a number of collisions that occur, as I've said, and people are out there, they're doing things, and the errors that they make are not always perceived as significant, but they add up quickly. The top contributing factors across New York State in the collisions are very simply unsafe speed, alcohol, drug involvement, distracted driving, and improper lane usage. These are all factors that have been repeated year after year, and we have to work together as the drivers to help reduce the prevalence of these factors in collisions. Next slide, please. While the motorist is driving down the roadway, certainly we understand that there's a lot of aspects to operating a motor vehicle. We do it every day. Many of my members of the state police will put over 150 miles a day on their vehicles patrolling their respective areas. As part of that, they're steering the vehicle, they're maintaining the constant speed. We're trying to determine what other cars are doing. Other motorists out on the roadway are doing all of that and more. Truly, isn't that multitasking already? Add to that that they are smoking or reading maps, doing social media, or eating, singing, or texting. All of these things add up, and it becomes multitasking on top of multitasking. Driving a vehicle requires your full attention. Next slide, please. We should be somewhere around the multitasking page. Unfortunately, many drivers think that they're great at multitasking, but they really aren't, because their attention's already divided by the operation of the vehicle. So if you add the two together, we've got multitasking operators on top of is that multitasking? Truly, do you have to ask yourself, are you really paying attention to what it is you're doing while your vehicle is proceeding down the roadway? Next slide, please. I've included in this slide and the next one a couple of pictures of our police vehicles that were operating on the roadway. They had emergency lights activated. And I'm not casting blame or suggesting exact reasons why the collisions occurred, but these are roadside officers within the past year here in Troop D that have been struck. Next slide, please. These officers were out there performing their tasks and functions that we've been entrusted to help the people of New York State, and yet their vehicles were collided with. I'm not casting blame. I'm not making judgment about what was going on there. The fact is that these are pretty significant collisions that our members have been involved with. Anytime you see someone with lights activated on the side of the road, be it a yellow or amber light, a blue light, a green light, or a combination red and white light sequence, you should try and move over and give them the space to work. Next slide, please. Very simply, if you can give them a whole lane, that's what you need to do. You need to slow down and proceed at a safe velocity as you go around them. And one other thing that I want to speak to quickly is that you should not cross over and drive into oncoming traffic in an unsafe fashion. Very frequently, while I've been out on traffic stops, I have had the unfortunate circumstance to see that drivers, in an attempt to steer widely around me, as they hopefully should be doing, are putting themselves at risk driving into oncoming traffic. Please balance the safety. If you can't move over a lane because of oncoming traffic, slow down. Drive at a reasonable speed around that hazard vehicle or emergency responder. Across New York State, this is being enforced. We don't give people a break on this. If we see it occur and we can stop them, that's what we go and do. And that ticket is a pretty stiff ticket, I won't lie. There's points associated with failing to yield the right of way. There's points associated with distracted driving. There's points associated with speeding. These are not set by the officers. It's the offense that's seen and the ticket that's issued by the officer. We're here trying to make sure that the roadway is safe for us, for DOT, for tow operators, for emergency responders, be it EMS, fire, other law agencies. We're trying to make sure that we all get home safe. I hope that all the drivers on the roadway get home safe, and I sincerely thank AAA for giving me the opportunity to come here and speak before you today to help try and reinforce that message of highway safety. Thank you.
Thank you, Trooper Heath. I mean, when I look at that image of the trooper car and how destroyed, it really just drives the message home. It's just so unfortunate. And I think we're all pretty guilty of sometimes trying to multitask, and you have to just put that reminder on and say, focus, look ahead.
Thankfully, both of those troopers were not injured severely during those accidents. That's not always the case. As you look at the reports coming in from nationwide, we have officers that are being struck roadside all the time, and sometimes it's significant injury that's caused. So we have to be aware.
It's so unfortunate. Thank you again. I appreciate it. Our next panelist is Todd West Ice, the Chief of Staff for the New York State Department of Transportation. Todd has been with the department for more than 20 years, serving in multiple capacities, including Director of the Office of Traffic Safety and Mobility and Regional Director of the Hudson Valley region. His current responsibilities include overseeing the day-to-day operation of the department and working to enhance the safety of the DOT system and its workforce. Welcome, Todd.
Hey, thank you, Patty. I really want to thank everybody on the panel today, Assemblywoman Budashan, our esteemed colleagues in law enforcement, tow operator, fire service. And this is a great opportunity for us to help get the message out to get people to slow down. In this case, I'm going to speak primarily about slowing down in work zones. This is part and parcel to the DOT's primary mission, which is safety, and that safety extends not only to the traveling public, anyone out there on the roadways, but as well as the traveling public. We want to make sure everybody gets to where they're going safely and gets home safely. Next slide, please. We have a new tool in our arsenal here to really hammer home the message of safety in and around work zones. It's automated speed enforcement. Next slide, please. So what is automated enforcement? Automated enforcement is typically conducted using vehicle or apparatus-based detection using radar and cameras on a mobile platform. Next slide, please. Why is it needed? I think a lot of folks have touched on this so far. For us in and around work zones in 2020 alone, we had 401 intrusions in just New York State DOT work zones. They resulted in 130 injuries and 1 fatality. This season, we have had another fatality in a work zone, and another individual is currently fighting for his life in a medically induced coma in a recent work zone intrusion. We don't have a tally on the number of overall intrusions or injuries yet because our season is still underway. Overwhelmingly, though, speeding is the primary factor for these intrusions. Distracted driving clearly is another one, but speeding, the statistics bear out. This is something that is, really the blight that we need to deal with collectively. Next slide, please. Operation Hard Hat for us, working with our law enforcement partners, has been hugely successful. This was initiated as a program in 2019 as a result of the death of one of our highway maintenance workers in Utica County. His death was caused by a commercial vehicle operator who failed to move over. The individual was found accountable in the court of law and is currently serving some jail time because of that. So far, we have issued over 2,200 tickets statewide. Again, the program is still underway this season. We still have active construction zones across the state. 804 of those tickets were due to speeding, and another 161 were due to failure to move over. This has been a great partnership with law enforcement. Everyone represented on this panel today is taking part of that. State police, county level, local level. This is something we continue to expand and improve on year to year. Next slide, please. The work zone automated and speed enforcement has a proven track record of success. We do not want to reinvent the wheel here in New York. We're basing our best practices we're going to be rolling out on the successes in other states with similar circumstances that we have here. Next slide. Pennsylvania has a successful model that's been in place for a couple of years now. They have conducted over 2,000 individual deployments of vehicle-based automated enforcement. You can see there over 200,000 violations have been issued, and what their data is showing, clearly they have a decline in speeds in and around work zones. Next slide. Maryland DOT is another model that we are partnering to emulate and expand and improve upon here in New York. Since they instituted this a couple of years ago, they've had a 59% decrease in speeds in their work zones, 39% reduction in incapacitated injuries, and a 45% reduction in fatalities. And this is not only the workers out there, but these are the folks that are getting in these crashes in the work zone. Next slide. As was mentioned earlier, we have some really groundbreaking legislation here in New York. Next slide. This is what's enabling the tool. On Labor Day, Governor Hochul signed into law this demonstration program that implements speed violation monitoring systems in work zones by means of photo devices. Next slide. The program goal is to save worker and traveler lives by reducing speeds in work zones, improving driver behavior, complementing existing enforcement by New York State PD and other local law enforcement, and promoting overall work zone safety. I want to call out, though, the particular phrase, improving driver behavior. We see this as a great tool to educate and hold the traveling public accountable when they speed through, don't move over, and otherwise execute other unsafe practices in and around work zones. Next slide. Okay, the how. The technology, again, is proven in other states, what we're going to be implementing here. Next slide. It is radar and photo enforcement technology. Our request for services, that RFP is being authored now. We're focused on, again, deploying mobile vehicle-based services in around the state. The legislation allows DOT to have up to 20 active photo enforcement in any given work zone around the state and 10 throughway work zones. These work zones are limited to controlled access highways, typically your interstates, and the parkway system, which is extensive here in New York, in particular on Long Island, the Hudson Valley. But again, we've got these types of facilities in every single region across the state. The way the legislation is written is through the automated system. The violations are issued to the vehicle owner, whoever is that vehicle is registered to. It'll be a civil fine. It'll be adjudicated in the local traffic courts. And the piece that's missing on the slide is that we will be doing extensive outreach between now and what we see as early next construction season when we deploy the technology to educate the traveling public, the local elected officials, and those who are responsible for adjudication at the local level. Next slide, please. Ultimately, the goal is to have this program operating statewide early in the 2022 construction season, and by extension of that goal, to make sure that we are successful in this 5-year period where this pilot has been authorized, to ensure that this becomes really state law going forward in a permanent capacity beyond the pilot period. I look forward to working with everyone here to make this a success. We're already working closely with state police, their headquarters, the TIM team there, to advise on how we roll this out. And we'll be reaching out to everyone in some capacity between now and what looks like spring of 2022. So again, thank you all for the opportunity to partner with you to get this message out. We look forward to continuing safety improvements in and around work zones. Thank you, Patty.
Thank you, Todd. It seems like you have a lot on your plate and a lot of changes coming down the road. You know, I think of those work zones every day. I take the arterial into work, and just the people that don't stop, they're not cautious, that speed up with all the construction that's going on. I just don't get it. I guess it's frustrating. But I appreciate everything that you shared with us and the direction that you are moving in, and I'm there to support you. Our next panelist is Officer Joshua Sweet. He's from the Utica Police. Officer Sweet has been an officer with the Utica Police Department for 7.5 years. During that time, he's worked road patrol for 5 years, becoming a member of the community outreach unit as well. Welcome, Officer Sweet.
Hi, thanks for having me on with you guys today. I appreciate it. It's unique. Utica is very unique in our landscape and our roadways. We have a mixture of highways and regular 2-lane roads. So we do see, a broad spectrum of traffic and accidents, and work pretty closely with UFD. And Chief Ingersoll, can attest to that, and our participation in trying to make sure that when we're out there, not only are our officers safe, but are the firefighters and tow truck operators as well. As he demonstrated in his pictures, how we set up on the side of the roadway, we utilize our vehicles and positioning to make sure that traffic can see us, see the operation of our vehicles. We have the lights on, and we actually utilize directionals on the back of our lights, our light bars, to enhance their awareness to move over. So we do have that aspect of our city here. We've been fortunate enough to not have any serious accidents or serious injuries in what I've encountered over the past 8 years that I've been on. But I wanted to advise further, we have had some opportunity to work with the state DOT in Operation Hard Hat. We've done that. I actually was able to participate in that recently. It was down here by the auditorium. We had some traffic when they're enhancing the Oriskany Street area, Oriskany and Genesee Street. And we worked with that over the summer, and that worked out pretty well. We also have close participation with the Oneida County Sheriff's Office and New York State Police. Often you'll see troopers down on the arterial. Like you said, the roadway over there can get pretty busy, and especially with the amount of construction and things we got going on with the hospital being built downtown. We have troopers down there patrolling the area, and we appreciate all that help and consideration on there. So we do have, like I said, a lot of traffic or a lot of construction. Patty, you said that you could look out your window and see it. And that's something that, again, is unique in Utica with everything growing and being built and established down here. I feel like our citizens down here, our community members have done a decent job as far as being aware of all the construction and what's going on with our roadways and moving over when they have the opportunity. Again, speeding and stuff like that is a major issue that we worked alongside, like I said, New York State DOT, and try to establish some guidelines and enforcement along with that. We don't currently have any enforcement coming up as far as planned opportunities, but we would be more than happy and willing to work alongside with you guys in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Josh, you really drove the message home, and it looks like you all have a great team. You work well with one another and communicate, and that's what we have to do to get the job done. We have one last person that was going to meet with us today, and we were trying to get someone that was a tow truck company owner. And this person was Warren Roosevelt Jr. He was the president of Roosevelt Towing and Recoveries. Our Slow Down, Move Over movement is very close to Warren's heart. Unfortunately, Warren will not be with us today. However, he did want us to pass along this message. He becomes very emotional. I spoke to him yesterday and a couple times last week. Very, very emotional. One of his drivers was struck and killed by a tractor trailer. He was only 51, leaving behind a wife, 2 children, in a community that admired and respected him. And you can tell just with what's up on the screen right now, he lives and breathes this. He really does. I mean, every opportunity I had to speak with him in the past 2 weeks, he's just drove this message home. So I did not want to not mention how he was affected, and to this day, it just still haunts him. It really does. So in closing, I want to thank you all, our speakers. Thank you to the press and public officials who joined us today, as well as all of our speakers. We hope you'll continue spreading the word of Slow Down, Move Over, help protect those who protect us. Have a great day and stay safe. From AAA Northeast, I'm Patty Artessa. Thank you again.